Hey everybody, and welcome to the GameSpace Game Show, episode 10. We have made it 10 actual episodes, but I couldn't have done it alone because I have all these wonderful people here with me. We have Dame here. Dame, how you doing? Yep, always.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Steven?
I am doing swell.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we have Bowman. How you doing there,
Back
Bowman?
again. Doing
Yeah.
Good. Doing good.
Bowman back
Loving
again.
every minute of it.
Yeah. That's his
can't keep me away.
catchphrase, actually. Bowman back again is what he says.
Right?
Yeah, all the time.
Getting a bowl of cereal out. Bowman back again.
And
Bowman flakes.
and lastly, we have Brandon Wolf, David, who you cannot see. He's just a big wolf picture on the screen.
Yay.
It's pretty much what he looks like anyway. How you doing there, David?
I am fantastic tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Why don't you tell them a little bit about what you're doing right now, because you're going to be participating, but you're not really going to be participating. You're gonna kind of half-ass it this time.
Slacker.
I'm actually here. I can participate fairly well because this is easy chat. But I'm currently playing Rift, aka Rift Prime, at the moment.
Which we're going to get into in a little bit here. But right now, we're going to just hop right into our main topic because we have a big show. It's not a humongous show, but it's still pretty large. I mean, it's not like Monster Hunter World size, but
It's girthy in its content.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be talking about early access games because there are a lot of them out there, and they scare me. And I wanted to kind of bring this up to you because I don't know how you guys feel about them. I want to learn about how other people are feeling about all these early access games, popping up everywhere. They started out to kind of be like a Steam thing, and then it just kind of migrated over, and now Xbox has them, and PlayStation's starting to get into the mix. So let's just kind of start there. What do you guys think about early access games?
Just the thing also, not only all that, but now role-playing games are getting into the mix as well. Like your typical tabletop.
Oh.
The current, so the new Pathfinder is coming out, the new Pathfinder edition. But you can currently get into it by getting basically what's early access book, that you're basically a tester for the system.
What?
Because second edition isn't currently out, and it will be later. But right now, the edition you can get is basically what second edition will be, but you're basically guinea pigs. That's how far early access has gone.
That is insane. It's like they're making you play test like physical games like Monopoly and I mean, it's not Monopoly, but you know what I mean. I mean,
yeah.
Like a new version of a tabletop game, and they're making you beta test it. And we have Kiwi here on the stream with us. She's in chat. If you guys are out there and you want to join in on the conversation, please feel free. So what do you guys think? Early access in general, how do we feel about it? Are we happy that we can play these games early, or are we just kind of like, why?
So I don't mind early access depending on what it is. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. But, I started playing PUBG in early access. For those who don't know, it's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's a battle royale game. I've got over 700 hours in it, so I definitely got my $30 worth by now. Let's see, what else am I playing? Osiris New Dawn. That's a good game.
That's early access, isn't it?
So yeah, it's early access still. I mean, there's a lot of them. 7 Days to Die, I think, is still early access.
I know still early access.
Yeah, Ark went live because they were doing all that stuff with paid DLC and stuff.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna be getting into that.
But yeah, there's some really decent early access games, as long as it's what you're into.
I feel like I'm going to be the contrarian here tonight.
Okay.
Probably not.
Because I think that one of the questions that I would have to ask when it comes to early access games is, are they early access from the standpoint of these are a finished product and we're allowing players an opportunity to be able to play these games, or are we the glorified laboratory for the developers. Like, is early access the new beta test? That's always been one of my biggest questions with EA titles, not Electronic Arts, but early access titles. One of my biggest questions has been like, beta testing used to be one of those things where like it was, and I don't want to be like I beta tested, before it was cool sort of thing. But
Star Wars Galaxies.
But yeah, I was gonna say I think David's got the corner on that market. But beta testing used to be one of those things where like that was the tough test. That's how devs got the feedback on what made their games good, and how the bugs that needed to be fixed before the games were out in the in the marketplace and stuff like that. And with some of the titles that are coming to early access, I think about Inquisitor Martyr that came out this last year. That was in early access, and I am a huge Warhammer 40,000 fan, like a huge tabletop, like had 2 armies, like huge 40K fan.
Yeah.
And so when I saw Inquisitor come out, I was so excited about it. But then like day one, everyone is having issues with it. There are just problems left and right with optimization for hardware. And fortunately they've been able to fix those.
Yeah.
But the buy-in to even be a part of that, what is it, like a $60 game?
Jeez.
And
it's expensive.
Most early access games aren't that expensive.
The buy-in is a little bit on the salty side. So
just a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as much as a Warhammer fan I am, I wouldn't have it right now if I hadn't gotten a key.
Yeah.
Because of that price.
Yeah. I mean,
and
that's
early access.
That's a huge. I mean, that is really out there. So according to Steam Spy, there are over 2,300 games in early access right now. Currently, 2,300 games in early access, and in addition to that, in an article that IGN actually put out in 2014, said that out of all early access titles, only 25% at that point had seen full release. So, wow. I mean, what exactly are we looking at? I mean, if we're looking at 2,300 titles out there right now, but only 25% may see a release. Looking into it a little bit, I looked in to see what early access game is still in early access and how long it's been in early access. There's a game called Air Mech Strike that has been in early access since 2012.
That's
it shouldn't be anymore.
I've looked at that.
It pops up.
It pops up in my main stream of games in the store every day. I'm like, why?
Wow.
Why?
It's actually a fun game.
No, it looks great.
With the devs back in the day, I don't know why it's still in early access. I don't know if they forgot about it. I don't know if it's part of a long-running joke of how long can they stay in there and keep the title of longest-running early access game. But generally, it's just, I don't know why they're still there. They shouldn't be.
Yeah, but I mean, game. Like you said, did they forget about it? I mean, abandoned early access titles are bad for, I think, not just consumers, but the entire genre. Because, I mean, it only takes like 6 million gamers.
Okay, I have to point out Kiwi's comment here in the chat here that it's like sending out wedding invitations on the first day of school. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is absolutely like what it's like. It's like, I'm going to get married this year. Who are you getting married to? I don't know. Haven't met him yet.
Exactly.
But I'm feeling it this year. The one is here.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what it's like. I mean, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the whole Kickstarter thing, which we've talked about a few times on here, because it's kind of in the same vein as a Kickstarter. With Kickstarter, you pretty much just need like a taste of a game, like you just need to be like, hey, my game's gonna have fairies and you're not gonna have currency, you're gonna trade buttons and stuff like that, and people are like, I've always wanted to trade buttons, like that's been the only thing I've ever wanted to do, and they back these games, and then these games go into early access on Steam, and it's they only need like a shell of a game, like the engine and a few buttons in the game, and they can sell that. And then, they go on to potentially forget about these games and, the consumers just kind of left like, you know, what do we do? I mean, you know, Bowman, you said that you played PUBG, but did you play it from like whenever it first came out? Because if you did, I heard it was pretty rough, like at the beginning.
I think it came out in March of last year, if I'm not mistaken,
right. Yep.
and I got into it around May, so pretty close to the beginning.
Yeah,
it was a little bit laggy at that point. The servers have definitely straightened themselves out at this point with all the tweaks and stuff they've been doing to them. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's getting closer and closer. But I mean, overall, how playable was it? Was it just like a frustrating mess? I mean, obviously, it must have been good enough to take off a little bit. I mean, it was like the biggest game of the year last year.
I mean, the biggest issues with it were the glitchers, and there's still issues with glitchers and hackers and everything, which they're trying to sort that out. You know, they've banned over 1 million people, most of which are from China at this point, because I guess they have nothing better to do than to glitch on our North American server.
Sure.
That's why I play on the European server. Sure. Less hackers.
Really? But the reason PUB did so well was because everybody had a thirst for that type of gameplay, and the only thing really available competitive or anything wise was H1, which was, you can call PUB buggy. H1 was full of holes, and the devs at that time no longer cared because they had the market and they had the money.
And honestly, the great thing about PUBG is you can play it and play it and play it, and no two matches are exactly the same.
But
so you got
PUBG's,
that intensity.
It's released now, though, is it? Or is it still
fully released?
Okay.
On PC, it's on early access, what do they call it, preview on Xbox One.
Yeah.
Microsoft has a deal with them, so that's why it's on early access there right now. They actually have a new map that's coming to the test servers next month. So yay, third new map.
See, and
it's gonna be a little bit smaller.
That's kind of where we get into some of the problems that I personally have with early access, because we saw it, and you mentioned it about Ark. So in September of 2016, Ark released a paid DLC for a game that was still in early access. Now, to me, that's disaster written all over it. I mean, you do not sell an expansion for a game that's unreleased, but that is exactly what they did. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it was terrible.
Here's the problem. People gobbled it up.
Yes.
But
yeah, of course
was it something they should have done? As a PR standpoint, maybe not.
As a PR standpoint?
I mean, like, as a thing of, hey, be a good game company, maybe you shouldn't because it's still EA. As a money thing, though, it made money, so why not?
And that's
a blunt way to look at it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not okay with this stuff. I never have been. I have issues about early access games that say it's early access. No, this is a beta, and I'm having to buy into your damn beta of this buggy game, and I shouldn't have to.
Well, that kind of brings up a really interesting question, and that is, like, does Steam have criteria as far as, you know, what constitutes an early access game and when something is technically released from that? So I remember, like, a few years back they had Project Greenlight, which kind of started which started some of this stuff. Yeah, it's been a minute or two ago. Yeah, but yeah, I wonder if there's any criteria for that. Do any of you guys know?
Money.
Well,
no, I'm pretty sure.
How much will you pay me?
No, I remember Greenlight. The devs had to pay a certain amount to get in, but also there's voting by the customers. But I think with the current early access, it's about them paying Steam amount of money to get into early access. I could be wrong, but from what I recall.
And that could very well be.
If there's any standards that they would say, you know, if your game isn't launched within a year, we're going to take it down or something, you know.
That's the problem. There's no standards at all.
And actually, in one of the articles that I think it may have still been that IGN article, they mentioned that Steam has been, well, at that time they were trying to be more proactive at taking games that were not being supported anymore off, because, you know, if you're in early access and the game's not supported, then you're never going to get a fully released game. And that's kind of it kind of goes back a little bit to it kind of goes back to Ark for me, because in that situation, you know, it was kind of like this this scandal of them putting out the DLC kind of pushed them into releasing the game. Like it was kind of like almost like the consumers and maybe Steam kind of said, hey, you guys have to release the game now. If you're not like, working on the main title,
all of a sudden we're ready. Here you go. It's released.
Exactly. And so maybe that needs to happen. I mean, maybe it needs to be the consumers that are pushing it. Maybe it needs to be us. Maybe Dame should just get out there and start physically pushing these people and saying, hey, you got to release the games. Or maybe, maybe it needs to be something in place from Steam saying, hey, you can only be in early access for 2 years and then kaput.
And then you got to start paying people back.
Well, yeah.
No.
David says no, like he doesn't want his money back. But
no, I don't. Just realistically, that won't happen.
No, and I think that, I mean, here's the thing that I want to see, and I've seen way too many games that have had incredible potential that have just been abandoned, just straight up orphaned by their devs. I don't know whether it's because of financial reasons or time or whatever. The flip side of this here is that for your developers that are smaller companies or solo companies, early access is kind of a way for your game to get play tested by a larger audience. So again, like I do kind of see both sides of the coin here with it, but I think that it would be more transparent to call it exactly what it is. Like David said, it's a paid beta. I'm paying for the privilege and for the exclusivity to be able to beta test your game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not allowed to see both sides of it, Dame. You're the contrarian, so you always have to take, the counterpoint.
I'll do what I want. I'm an adult.
You're the guy who gave Destiny 2 a 10/10, okay?
Yeah. I did.
But it wasn't in early access when you did, though, right?
Nope.
Right? Nope. See?
10 out of 10.
The reality is, the early access has plus and minus, right? For like a good indie team, it's a good way to get your game out, get it recognized, and just make a little bit of money.
Yeah, make a little bit of money.
Should there be constraints? Yes. Oh, hell yeah, there should be constraints. But look at what Steam hasn't done over the time it's been around. What will happen? I mean, Steam isn't very good at being proactive about this stuff sometimes. Let's be honest.
A lot of things, actually.
Yeah.
Which we're going to be getting into in other shows.
Yeah, but early access is a quagmire and a trash pit right now. Let's be honest about that.
It's like Oscar the Grouch in a trash can.
Yeah.
It's like I said, plus and minus. For some games, it's great. For others, like Ark, should have been gone a long time ago. Even I'll argue Ark should still be in early access because it is still sometimes a buggy mess.
I stopped playing it because it was having so many issues. I prefer to play something like Osiris New Dawn, even though that's a little bit further back, or Conan. That was a pretty good one, too.
I spent so much time in Ark, and I walked away when the DLC dropped because I felt like that's like the core game kind of got abandoned at that point in time. And which is a bummer because, I mean, who doesn't want to be riding a T-Rex around and, munching up other things?
Yeah.
Look,
it was fun.
I'd forgive them so many sins if they could optimize that. Because seriously, that game with all the DLCs is basically about 140 gigabyte install.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of it. That's like a big part of it is they chose not to do that specifically. So are we just going to be seeing a lot of these early accesses now? Is that going to be the new norm? I mean, is everything going to be early access all day long forever until the world explodes?
Who knows?
I think
early access, the road to oblivion.
I think that we probably are going to see it for a while because by and large, it's working to help some companies, and just throwing this
small
out there.
Companies mostly.
It's working to help small companies be able to figure out what's going on with their games so that they can push it out there and get it in the players' hands, get some feedback, what's working, what isn't working, and be able to fix things. I know there have been a couple of games, especially indie titles, that I've reviewed here at GameSpace that I've been able to talk with devs during that early access or that beta phase to be able to work out some things like, hey, I found this thing and this just isn't working here. What can you help me out with this? And they've been really, really good by and large. with that. So
yeah, but like you said, I mean, it is definitely a beta test, you know, and
absolutely, just call it what it is, though.
Yeah. And, you know, people are throwing their money just because they want to get in these games early. You know, I feel bad as a consumer that has to happen. I mean, I'm happy on the one hand because it's like, hey, I get to get into my favorite games or games that I'm interested in early. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, I'm going to be playing this game up to and, you know, maybe after release, but chances are I won't be because I'm going to play out like the entire thing as it's being made. By the time it releases, I don't know how many times like I hear early access is about to be over and I'm like, okay, well, see you later. You know, I've already played this game entirely. You know, I saw it being made. You know, well, I'm kind of done with it now. You know, I've already done everything. I don't want to do it all again, you know?
There's a psychological trap to this as well, too. And I would really encourage you guys, if you're not familiar with the term, look up the term psychology of exclusivity and do a little bit of reading on it. Because, I mean, that is a genuine thing, and we gobble that up. Being able to have, you know, exclusive access to things, exclusive, you know, firsts and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, look into it. It's fascinating.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody who's trying to set up a team right now, once I graduate from school in a few months, to start doing an indie game. I mean, I am kind of looking into something like that a little bit down the road, but you know, definitely you want people to be able to test your game and tell you what's going on with it. Will I start with Steam Early Access? Probably not. But, you know, you got to have people to play your game. Yeah. If you're playing it, you think it's good, and then somebody else plays it like, oh, this game is crap, man.
Well, that's going to be any game imaginable. That's always going to happen. But you just Trojan horsed us. Like, that's not even fair. You came in here trying to be all unbiased, and then you're like, well, I'm going to be doing it next year. You know, like, what's up with that?
I said at some point down the road.
just don't mighty number 9.
But I did say God, I can't do that game. Some of that stuff is just too hard in that game. But no, I said I like some of the Steam Access stuff. Like I said, if it's a game that works for you, it's good. But if it's a game that's crap, you know, you really wish you hadn't spent $10, $20, $30, $60 on it.
Well, 2,300 games on Steam right now that are early access. So, I mean, I'd say what, at least
I guess I gotta look some more.
2,000 are going to be crap. I mean, it's so hard to determine that. But let's kind of put this one to bed and move on because we have a lot of news going on. Lots of news. Yeah, it's we're gonna have to put this one to bed and move on. We can have David read it a story later.
Yeah, it's probably gonna ask for a glass of warm milk. But
goodbye, David. On the rooftop.
Let's so. In the news this week, a lot happened in the news this week. Last week we had a show about video games and whether or not they cause violence. You know, Dame, you were in that one.
I was.
With a yes or no answer, can you give us what the verdict was of that? Do they cause violence, yes or no?
The verdict was maybe. So
the worst verdict ever.
So here's the bottom line. There are studies that do definitely pull to the contrary of you know, video games causing violence, but I think that it would also be a mistake for us to not pay attention to the things that influence us, right. And especially when you look at children. You know, the development of children. I mean, it's so mutable, and so. So there's definitely wisdom in there, and Chris Koch and I talked last week about some of the strategies as like teachers and parents and stuff like that, about, you know, talking with kids and stuff like that. And I also talked last week about how I ruined someone's Christmas. So
yeah,
you know,
that's always a good one.
That was a good time.
I do love hearing stories of how Dame ruins Christmas, but he's like his own little Grinch. That's why his room's green. But you know, that kind of, I think that whole rhetoric that is getting out there in the political space has kind of scared a lot of people. So we heard a story about a school in Florida, the Cushman School in Miami. They have taken part in a campaign to stop playing violent video games. All these kids have decided to stop playing video games, and they protested it by throwing their games away. You know,
man, I hope they burn all their books and you know, break all their CDs and, you know, delete all their MP3s and stuff like that too, and just stay away from the internet.
Yeah,
I would love to see their game collection in a week.
Well,
it's like, crap, my Steam library is still here. Oh, I can just re-download it again.
well,
Right.
I mean, these are probably little kids, but what I thought was pretty interesting, and I posted this into our Slack, is that they're throwing away all these violent video games and things like that. But then also they had an advertisement on their school website for a casino night fundraiser that they were supposed to be doing the next month or something like that. I think that it's just they're giving them mixed signals here. Like violent
One
video
of these
games,
things is not like the other.
bad, but yeah. So I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, call them out or anything, but I'm definitely calling them out. And I just think that, you know, people, you know, if you're going to go all the way and say that you're trying to protect kids from this, what they're really doing and what I feel that they're doing, because you know, growing up, we had, you know, we had Dare growing up. Did you guys
Oh,
have
absolutely.
that too?
Oh,
yeah. Which, you know, I played a part in, but I remember that they, you know, they try and shape the way that you think about everything. And, you know, I'm totally, you know, against drugs in every way and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But, you know, they kind of shape their mind to kind of tell them like, hey, this is bad, whether or not
Drugs are bad and
yeah, which, you know, they're right in that sense, but they're doing the same thing with video games, which is a subjective space. You know, obviously violence is bad, but they're not committing violent acts. They're virtually entertaining themselves with violent acts, and people know the difference between them. So,
well, and that's part of the conversation that Chris and I had last week, is making sure that there are those spaces for conversations with those things. I mean, like, you know, I want to double back on something you said, Chris, about like violence is always bad. I would disagree with you in there. I think that there are some times where violence is very necessary, just as much as there are some times where inaction can be really evil too. But anyway, that'll get us off into the weeds, you know, here in a whole other conversation. But yeah, there definitely needs to be a rather than cloistering ourselves off from things, like, it's far better to have conversations about stuff and ask questions. That's something that I always really appreciated about the community that I grew up in. You know, not just my family, but also some of my mentors and some of my peers. There were spaces to be able to ask questions, to be able to get understanding about things. And even with video games, it's one of those things where I shared about this last week, having a forum to be able to talk to an adult, somebody who is older than me, that may not have understood like half of what I was talking about, but cared enough to be able to listen.
Yeah.
That's the framing of the conversation, not vilification.
Right. Well, the Entertainment Software Association and a bunch of people from the game companies met with El Presidente and several of the cabinet members, people of Congress. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Bowman knows what I'm talking about. You know, basically the topic was violent video games, and we're not going to be touching on this every week because we're going to do another follow-up show after everything's kind of calmed down. And I think that what had happened today with them meeting with the president is a big part of it. They released a statement, and the statement says, we welcomed the opportunity today to meet with the president and other elected officials at the White House. We discussed the numerous scientific studies establishing that there is no connection between video games and violence, First Amendment protection of video games, and how our industry's rating system effectively helps parents make informed entertainment choices. We appreciate the president's receptive and comprehensive approach to this discussion, which is basically, you know, their way of saying we did our best. But, you know, I don't think it's done, but I mean, what do you guys think?
I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there, and maybe we need to throw up the disclaimer of not all of the views that are presented here tonight are the views of GameSpace.com and MMORPG.com. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. I'm really glad that this meeting happened, because I think that last week we had a situation where the president came out, made a statement about video games. People, kind of went, "Oh, hold on a second, leave our thing alone," and then
stop playing with my toys.
Yeah, stop playing with my toys, which has kind of been the thing that's happened, whether it's guns or video games or whatever. Okay, well, hold on a second, wait a minute, that's my thing. We're okay with we're okay with control and everything else, but just not my thing. But here is I think that he had to do that, though. I think that I try to take a very apolitical standpoint, okay? But I also have my biases, so I'm fully admit that. But I think the president had to do that because you're in a situation where a national tragedy has taken place, and people are wanting answers, and everybody is throwing blame at everything. And so, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to come into the room. I'm going to talk about the thing that everybody's talking about and what's going to be huge. And so,
very
and
good.
so,
very
I,
good.
so I,
what
I
you don't
really,
know is he has a comb over right now too.
and so I just really think that it was necessary for the conversation to happen. Was it framed well? Probably not. But I would say that I really appreciate the addressing this angle from the standpoint of like, hey, you guys are the game makers. I don't understand anything about this thing. I think his own words showed his ignorance about the industry. But I think that it was really good though to have that follow up with industry leaders to be able to say, hey, look, here's the research. We're going to give this to you. You've done your due diligence in checking into this thing. We're doing ours as well.
Well,
and you want to look and see, they can do all this stuff with video games. They want to take video games away. How many more people are going to be out there causing problems instead of being on their video game, relaxing and doing whatever they do to relieve their stress?
Yeah.
Some of these people that are on there, you can get yelled at by a 6-year-old kid. You can get yelled at by a 35-year-old person on there.
Kid.
35-year-old kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Kid.
Yes.
How angry are these people on games? If they're that angry on games and they're just trying to relax and get their frustrations out, what are they going to be like in real life when somebody ticks them off?
Yeah.
I had this fantastic moment that happened in high school where I went to an arcade with some buddies, and there was a Street Fighter 2 machine that was there.
Oh yeah.
And and my buddy John. So it was myself, my older brother John, and our buddy John, and we were in this arcade, and there was this dude that was there that, he was just running his mouth. We're just having a good time playing some Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, and this dude is just jacking his jaw about how good he is at this game. And so our buddy John, like completely unassuming, was like, "Hey man, you think you could maybe play me next round and show me a thing or two?" And so the guy, "Oh yeah, I can totally do that." Just
he sounded like that, I'm sure.
Yeah, all throw up to the machine, and John just takes him over his knee and spanks him for about $5 worth of quarters.
Wow.
until at one point the dude just finally just straight up punches the machine.
Yeah.
And John just my friend just kind of turns to him very calmly and just says, my mom used to always say, if you have a physical connection to the game, you should probably walk away from it.
Well, I've seen a lot of stuff like that happen. We actually have a whole series about arcades coming up pretty shortly. Cool. I also want to point to something that Kiwi just said in the chat. She feels that there needs to be more moderation in games, time-wise, beta-wise, violence-wise, gambling-wise. So if anything, this creates forums for these things to be seriously considered. Basically, she's saying that she just wants to have more of a dialogue, but she needs it to not be done by the government.
That is a hearty I agree.
It starts at home.
Just
Absolutely.
Don't talk about Rift having anything.
Yeah, the Rift violence.
Say whatever you but let's be honest, this all starts at home one way or another.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
You can blame whatever you want, whatever the flavor of the week, of the month, of the year is. They've all been blamed before. They will all be blamed again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but parents aren't taking care of their kids. It's going to be,
Now, granted, for some kids, that's not possible because they either don't have parents or a bad neighborhood, or the parents literally don't care.
Yeah.
Well, and that's school. And David, you make a really excellent point. I made a point last week about studies on fatherlessness. And some of the things that I've experienced being in ministry and working with middle schoolers and high schoolers, I've seen situations where you have kids that act out because that's just how they know to get attention. But exactly. It's on. But now though, knowing this stuff, we're the adults in the room. Okay, like we are the arbiters of the. I know, right? We're kind of the arbiters of the future here. So if we have kids in our neighborhood, like this is one of those things. My wife and I don't have children, and we may never have children. But one of the things that she and I have always talked about, she's a teacher. I work in a church, and one of the things we've always talked about is we want to be those people in our neighborhood, in our school, in our church that if kids want to talk about video games, they can talk to about video games to us, and we get it. And we understand, and we want to have a conversation with them about it. We need adults to step up and be a part of that. A student, a child will always gravitate towards the oldest person that will take them seriously. I'm a firm believer of that because I've seen it time and time again. So
interesting. Yeah.
I'm off of my soapbox now.
It's a very nice soapbox, and
you didn't get shorter though.
But you're not wrong.
Well, he's sitting down. That's why.
This is true. It's a very small soapbox.
Yeah. But, I love this topic. We're all passionate about this topic, and we're going to keep following this topic. But not today because we've got more stuff, and we're running out of time. And, it's definitely a topic that we're going to be coming back to, I think, a few more times this year. So, everyone just, we'll keep you updated on what's going on out there. A lot of people actually haven't heard about this kind of stuff. I will say this though, the White House also put out a video that they showed, today, and it is by far the weirdest thing. They just cut together, several, violent scenes from various video games, but they had absolutely no context. So, you can search for it online. There are a lot of news stories out about it because it's really hard trying to decipher what they were trying to say there. Obviously, they were saying video games have violence, but they didn't say it was bad. They didn't say it was good. They didn't say it's just hurting our children. Just, this is violence, and they showed it. So that's hilarious. Check that out.
Congratulations. We live in a very violent world.
There's violence in these video games. Let's see all the violence in these video games.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
So onward from violence to Final Fantasy 15 releases for the PC this week, right?
And more violence.
Yep.
It is violence. I will say that.
Chocobros, nice.
Yeah.
You get chocobos in a car. It's awesome.
Danny, you guys pick up the Final Fantasy 15 for PC this week?
Yeah. I've actually had it for Xbox One X, or Xbox One, I should say, since it came out. But
I had it for PS4, so.
Oh, so you guys just didn't care.
PC.
I just didn't have that. It was by Final Fantasy 15 or by Warhammer Vermintide 2. So I went with Vermintide.
Well, that also
a
released. Yeah, it is a very good choice. But the Final Fantasy 15 release for PC, it has mod support, and it has up to 8K resolution support, and it supports HDR10, so high dynamic range. Yeah.
Didn't it also come with everything that's been released for Xbox and PlayStation so far?
Yeah. It came with everything.
Yep.
So in that sense,
it's my understanding too that it's not very optimized though.
That's what Tiryu says. He's watching on our stream. He says he picked it up for PC and refunded it after 2 hours of FPS and graphic issues, and that's not a good endorsement.
I don't have the best setup, but it worked fine for me. The only biggest issue was loading times.
Right.
But otherwise, like I said, my setup's like medium, let's call it, average, give or take. Well, but it worked fine for me.
And it really does depend on the system because, I mean, they're
exactly
4K and stuff like this. So you know you're going to need a more powerful system.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill streamed it, Tuesday? And I was watching his stream, and it didn't look that bad. Obviously, we don't get the full resolution through the camera, but it looked pretty good, even with the lack of resolution.
I think he said that he wasn't on. Didn't he say that it still looks good on like mid-range or something like that? Or
he said his system was kind of chugging.
Yeah,
right.
I was streaming it on average for my system, and it had a couple hits, especially loading times. But otherwise, it actually worked pretty good.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. So if there's any Final Fantasy people out there who want to try and play, Tyrio said that he was playing, I mean, he was running Threadripper 1950X and a Titan X, and he was having FPS issues.
Wow.
He was running in 4K, though, but... So yeah, I mean that's pretty rough. Crapshoot on that one, I guess it seems. But what's not a crapshoot? You guys want to know? It's the Rift Prime release, which happened March 7th.
Kiwi hype. Kiwi hype.
I was gonna say all the hype for Kiwi.
Yeah,
Kiwi.
She is our Rift correspondent. Is that? Can we call her that? What do we call her?
I think she is like what
the
it
Rift
is like
goddess.
the grand matron of Rift, something like that.
So I don't know very much about Rift. I played it whenever it first released in 1983. I don't know how long ago it released.
Seems like it, right?
Yeah, it's a long time ago in gaming years. And they recently released a Prime server called Vigil, not Virgil. It is a subscription-only server. It has increased progression, so less progression time. Minimal cash shop, which is only relegated to cosmetics and account services. And then she also said that monthly challenges were added today, so they've added some challenges. But since I don't know anything about it, I'm going to turn this over to David, since he's actually playing it right now while he's talking to us. What's going on with this?
It's basically, I'm gonna be very blunt and just basic out for people. It is a progression server, right?
Right.
Straight up, it is. But it's Rift. So if you ever liked Rift back in the day, and you ever thought about getting back to it, I would highly suggest it. It is basic Rift from back in the day with the basic classes. So if you want to get some of the other souls, it costs time and in-game money. Nothing can be bought in the cash shop, like you said. So it's a difference from the free-to-play Rift that is out now. Like progression server, people are rushing stuff, people are doing stuff, a lot of people are online right now. We'll see how it goes, say 2 months from now. But right now it feels, well, I'm being honest, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's if any old MMO with something like that, that's an honest fact. Even with, like, say, EverQuest.
Yeah.
But it is obviously Rift, so it's a newer MMO. It has good graphics. It for the time, it's still decent graphics. People are playing it. We've
got some screenshots up. It actually looks pretty good for a game from 1983.
It's a pretty game.
But
I don't think I ever had any real issues with the graphics or anything. It's just, when you're playing games like Lord of the Rings Online and Star Trek Online and other games like that, it's kind of hard to get into another like fantasy role-playing game like that.
Because there's so many of them out there. But like Kiwi was saying, MMORPG.com runs the Old School Guild. Definitely check them out. You can kind of connect with them on Discord. And I would recommend doing that, especially if you're thinking about getting into it, coordinate with some people. Kiwi is going to be out there. She's pretty much going to... I think she's kind of running the guild. I'm not really sure, but I think that's what's going on. So, meet up with her, meet up with maybe some of us. I probably won't be there, but I know David's going to be there, and we're probably going to get Bowman to do it. Bowman will do anything.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Bowman will do anything.
Yeah, there he goes. With his
ET phone home.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's because Irrelevant called us nerds, so I am showing my nerdiness.
Oh yeah, we're definitely.
That's truth.
But yes, just because I will review anything that's given to me doesn't mean I'll do anything.
It does.
But
let's be honest.
It pretty much does.
I'm trying to help out, and I will let things sit in the channel for a little bit, and then if nobody says anything, I will be like, okay, I'll test it.
He gets a timer on it. It's like after like 45 seconds, he's like, me.
Oh, come on.
Mine.
We call that the Bowman rule.
Seriously, Bill asked about Real Farm, and I said, if nobody else wants it, I will take it. I waited, I think, 4 hours, and nobody said anything. I said, guys, if you want to try and beat farm, pull this game.
Talking about a farm. We don't have a bunch of farmers out there who just want to hop in.
I do.
But well, yeah, obviously you're a big farmer, but
my dad actually still farms to this day. He does organic farming. So
you know what's really interesting about farming is it's kind of like building, and you know what game's really good at building? Fortnite. And here's isn't that a good segue?
And
because Fortnite just released it's just released cross-platform on mobile as well. Playing Fortnite on mobile, how does that make you guys feel?
I can't play games like that on mobile. Like there's that one survival game that was like PUBG-ish, and you have to do everything on the screen like this. Yeah. Nope, I need a controller or something.
Well, you can get a Bluetooth controller, I'm sure, which I have, but you know, but so it's going to be cross-platform.
So.
Fortnite was already cross-platform between PC and the PlayStation 4. So now they moved that all the way across to the mobile space as well. The only thing that it's not cross-platform on right now is the Xbox One, and I don't think there's a Switch release, but
not yet.
I'm sure there probably will be at some point.
It'll be next year.
Yeah. Switch always gets a lot of
but
stuff.
But it'll probably be 10 times better on the Switch.
Always. Well, because it kind of
games are coming out on Switch now that you would think would be better on Xbox or PlayStation, but they're doing a lot better on Switch.
Yeah, definitely. And the cool thing about Switch is because they started it on a console and PC, they moved it over to a mobile, and then the Switch is kind of a mix of both, like a console and a mobile device. So there you go.
Like playing with a tablet.
Exactly. So it's kind of a little bit of everything. So I think that's going to kind of skew some numbers, though, because there's a lot of mobile players out there who are they're gonna try and pick this up, and so I know that there was some talk about the whole PUBG Fortnite rivalry, and I think that this is really going to open it up because Fortnite's going to say, hey, we've got 7 billion players because half of them are on mobile, and they're easy kills because they have to play with a touchscreen. So come on over to us. And
Irrelevant just said in the channel, PUBG does have a mobile game that's coming out in China right now, and the trailer for that was pretty cool. So once that comes out, it'll be the same thing with PUBG. So
really? Well, are they gonna? Is it gonna be a cross-platform title? It's also cross progression, which means you can actually play the full game. It's not just the battle royale that you're playing. You can play like the whole story mode, going through and doing all that kind of stuff, which is I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you can kind of cheese playing like the multiplayer, story mode. Just let everyone carry you, and you're good to go.
You do have to pay for the story mode, though.
Yeah, you
full
do.
Disclosure.
Which I already have. I paid many llamas for that one. So.
Yeah, no, I like the free version enough, but I won't. I haven't.
You wouldn't pay for
the. No.
Well, we didn't want you. We didn't want you anyway.
I can't really get into the whole. I've tried to play it and I like it, but you got to play a while to use the building while you're running and jumping and shooting and trying to stay alive. I watch people stream and I'm like, how are they building so fast and switching and jumping and shooting? It's like I'm sitting here.
It's practice, but how are they going to do that on a mobile device? That's the question. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
How many phones are going to get thrown as a result of that?
Yeah.
They're gonna say you're gonna need a phone like the S8 Plus size or bigger to play on this game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
There's no way I'd play in a phone that's this big.
See, what I would love to see with stuff like Fortnite or with PUBG is instead of having like a full version for a mobile device, have some type of like companion app that would allow you to be a part of matches and kind of like help manipulate the battlefield.
Yep.
So in a weird sort of way, kind of like what what Evolve did, where it's like, it's players versus like an entity or whatever.
Yep.
But without that versus element of it, you just have the opportunity to manipulate the battlefield. I think that would be an awesome.
I would love to be the person throwing out those red zones.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I get blown up by enough of them, so I would love to.
You're doing well over here. It would be a shame if something happened to your zone.
I was standing under a tree one day, and I'm in the middle of the red zone. I'm like, I'm on foot. I'm not going to get out of this. And then, right next to me, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Under a tree and hits right next to me.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what they originally had planned for the Division, if you remember. If you wanted to play on the cell phone, you would be able to come in as a drone and provide support. And they just talked about releasing the Division 2, which is coming up, and I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
As long as they fix all the issues from the first one and learn from their mistakes for the second one.
Well,
they pretty much have in the current
I
versions.
played Division right from the get-go, and I loved it. But once you get done with the story and you get into the Dark Zone, you really can't do anything in the Dark Zone because you try and go in there and you're getting shot by everybody who has all the top gear. You can't get the gear because they're shooting you before you get out of the zone. So
yeah, I definitely, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I got into the Division really early, and I definitely exploited out all of like the top gear immediately. So yeah, when you got into the Dark Zone, I was definitely one of those in there killing you. I mean, it was really easy to get like the top gear, and I mean like top gear compared to like the low end, or even just like the next to top gear was like night and day. I mean, you could not hang with someone who had better gear than you. But we'll see what happens with the next Division.
Yeah, I'll definitely pick it up because I loved the story in Division, and I thought I heard they were making a movie about it.
They do. Actually, Amazon has a series. Go check it out. It's terrible, but check it out. I would say it's worth the watch because you know what's going on if you've played the game. And I'm one of those people who, whenever I'm immersed in a world, I have to watch all the horrible things. I mean, like, I'm the kind of person who like
Halo.
Yeah, like, well, Halo, or like, if a Pokemon game comes out and I want to play it, like Pokemon Go did, I had to watch the show to know what the hell was going on half the time. I wanted to be part with the characters. I wanted to know what they sounded like and what they ate for food. Was it all just berries? I didn't know. So I mean, I like being part of worlds. So
I agree.
Yeah.
So and as far as that's concerned, I did see something on Facebook or something where somebody said there was a tweet sent out or something about them possibly rebooting Pokemon, but it was quickly taken down. So after 20 years of the same thing, I'd be really curious to see about that.
I don't know. That's a tough one. So we have just a few minutes left, and we have to transition into the WAPE, the What Are You Playing version of this episode. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys are playing pretty quickly here. Plugs and what are you playing? Dame, what do you got?
I am currently playing Warhammer Vermintide 2 and enjoying that game. Oh my word! I never played the first one, but I picked it up this last week, and I am not regretting that purchase. It is a ton of fun. So playing that one for pleasure. But this week I am reviewing a game called Earthlock. Ooh. That's kind of a 90s JRPG style throwback that is in the art style of like Torchlight. Really kind of interesting. Cool. Yeah, really kind of interesting game. Playing it on the Switch, and then I'm actually working on a review for a hardware piece that I'm using tonight. It is called the Marantz Professional Turret. That is an all-in-one HD webcam with LED ring and microphone and boom arm, and it makes toast, and it heated up my tea for me. It pretty much does everything. So
Mr. Coffee.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm up to this week. Oh, and one other thing, I'm going to be releasing a review for a game called The Station sometime soon.
Okay.
Really interesting playthrough. Short game, but really interesting playthrough.
I am excited to see what that's all about because Bowman has to tell us what he's up to. What do you got?
Oh, I am playing. Actually, March 1st, I found out Dragon Ball Online Global came out. It's apparently fan run, and they've completely taken the Korean game and put everything into English for us who can't read Korean. So I streamed that last Sunday. I'll probably be streaming it again this Sunday at 1 o'clock, right here on MMORPG.com. But basically, you know, it's 1,000 years after the Majin Saga, Majin Buu Saga, where Dragon Ball Z ended. And you can be a human, you can be Namek, you can be a Majin at this point. And
that's pretty cool.
You get to level up and, you know, go through the whole Dragon Ball Z stuff. It's kind of where Xenoverse. Xenoverse.
Yeah.
So what I was told is that's where everything came from for Xenoverse. It was from Dragon Ball Online, because playing it, I was only an hour and a half into it, and you get to travel back in time, and you see Grandpa Gohan, and Goku just fell out of the sky, and he's in his Saiyan capsule, and then all of a sudden Trunks is there, and he's the Time Patrol Trunks, and you're like, whoa, what the heck? And then somebody's like, oh yeah, well they took everything from this since it wasn't going to be a big thing, and they put it in the Xenoverse. I was like, well, you know, I really wish this had become a bigger thing here in America. So
yeah,
but I'll probably be playing that.
That's pretty cool. We're definitely going to have to check that out. I know I will because I'm interested in that. And I think we all know what David's playing, but I'm going to ask him anyway because I want to see the elation in Kiwi's text. So what do you got there, David?
What I'm currently playing this week, at least, amongst so many other things, is Rift Prime, obviously. I'm also currently working on Final Fantasy 15 for review for one of the sites. I'm also playing Vermintide for self-pleasure because of Vermintide. And it has Twitch integration, which is kind of awesome.
Ooh, I always love that.
Yeah, it's kind of, the chat votes on you guys who gets like a health pot or stuff, or they vote on which bad thing comes to kill you.
Oh no!
Maybe the three of us should get together on Sunday and do that during my stream.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
You could try. Otherwise, those are what I'm working on at the moment. Oh, and I have a mic review coming up soon for the site.
Are you using the mic right now?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, well, it sounds good. You kind of sound like you normally do, but I'm going to go with better. I'm going to say you sound better.
Less pixelated.
Well, as for me, you know, the usual stuff. I have been, well, I'm going to start working on Wild Terra. We're going to have a review coming out on that at some point in the future. I am going to be trying to stream it, but I would advise all not to watch me do it. It is a very slow game, kind of boring.
I'll probably be stuck there with them.
Yep, Bowman's going to be with me, so, I mean, if you love our commentary, then feel free, but most of it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of snoring, a lot of tree chopping. You know, it's just one of those survival games where you just got to get down into the nitty-gritty and just, like, really just plant some flowers and cut some wood and, you know, all that, which, you know, you may or may not be a fan of. Aside from that, I have a review coming up sometime soon about De Blob 2, which I've finally gotten some time with. My significant other has stolen it from me for quite a long time, but I just got some time with it. I streamed it last week. I'll be streaming it again, and
it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to play. I'm enjoying it.
I need a PS4 for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have it on like everything else already, but I'm playing the PS4 version, which it just came out on.
Oh, I thought it was only on PS4.
No, it's been on Steam since the dawn of time. So you've got, yeah, even before the Blob 1, they did
before the
Blob 2.
dinosaurs.
Yeah. And here you asked if anyone's going to be doing Black Desert Mobile. I'm sure, probably. But apart from that, if you guys have a chance, definitely check out our podcast. If you're just joining now, you're wondering what the heck are you talking about, check out our podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, the whole Apple iTunes stores. We're everywhere. Just type in GameSpace Game Show and see what we've been up to. But aside from that, join us every week if you can, from 9 o'clock Central to 10 o'clock Central. And we appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good evening, guys.
Bye. I have to turn